Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back under the video from Totally Not Mark, and I'm really excited for this. So, gonna be honest, not read or seen the original Dragon Ball. I've seen like 1 or 2 episodes maybe, but I feel like I'm gonna use this as educational insight into the series. I know Totally Not Mark absolutely loves this and has experienced this already, so this is him reviewing it. And I'm hoping he's then going to go into the Dragon Ball Z stuff, because I am anime only on that, so it'd be interesting to see what the manga is like. I want to see what the story of that Dragon Ball actually is, and I feel like this is going to be a really good way of doing that weekly, and I'm excited to check these out. So let's get into this, shall we? This is the original Dragon Ball complete series review, part 1, Pilaf Saga, to the Tournament Saga. So we're going to see where Pilaf and everything is. This is going to be cool. I mean, I know little bits and odds, but
Dragon Ball got some exciting news with the very first
everyone was excited, but
some people were excited, some were upset because of the CGI.
People were more excited about the whole Pan news, weren't they? Cool. I can't wait to like learn the original stories in this. This is gonna be cool.
I was reading through some of the best original Dragon Ball has to offer, and
where everything started, man.
Yeah,
that's what I'm aware of.
The beginning of this story, or as I like to affectionately refer to it as, oh my god, this is like 40% of the friggin' story. How is no one seeing this? It's amazing. But yes,
okay.
You heard me right. Most people haven't seen about
Teach
40%
me.
of the story.
That's crazy.
Stretching from the Pilaf Saga all the way through to Piccolo's
Chainsaws.
one of the most underrated stories in all of manga and anime.
My mate Mark loves the original Dragon Ball series.
Focusing on the latest transformations, chapters, and trailers for the upcoming movie, I figured
God of Destruction
it's my
Vegeta.
responsibility to show people where this series came
Yeah,
from,
the origin.
It's widely considered by those
Go on.
that have read it.
Teach me.
The absolute
Teach
best
me.
material this series has to offer. That's right, I'm talking funny, I'm talking action.
It is meant to be very funny, isn't it? Like,
hey mom, go to the store to get some tissues because Goku's making me cry.
no.
And you know what? They didn't need to create a multiverse tournament or make constant callbacks to itself to get a reaction.
Oh wow,
from its
okay.
This
Take
is
that,
an
Super.
immortal story with legacy, action, comedy, and sadness. And quite simply, this original tale set the foundation for the story that will go on to capture the hearts and minds of millions across the world for decades to come. Which is why I'm so nervous writing this video. This is a cultural touchstone of a story, and I want to do it justice.
Okay.
So, what are we waiting for?
Let's get into it.
I'm Totally Not Mark, and this is my review of Akira Toriyama's underrated and undefeated Dragon Ball.
Sick. Oh, he turns people into carrots, doesn't he?
I'm actually unreasonably excited to get into this with all of you today. So, let's dive into the very first saga that catapulted Dragon Ball into Japanese pop culture. I'm talking about the 23-chapter long Pilaf Saga.
Pilaf Saga. Dragon Ball Quest Saga or Pilaf Saga. Oh no.
God, it feels so strange but amazing to be back in this world with you guys. After having spent the last decade learning about storytelling, one of the first things that immediately became apparent to me was how effective Toriyama was at characterization.
Right.
Particularly with both Goku and Bulma right off the bat, utilizing paneling, framing, and dialogue to push
Everyone always says that his paneling in the original stuff is just mint.
His first manga either.
Oh, cool. Yeah. He's got
for specific
what's her name?
Reasons. The first chapter kicks off our story with the
Dr. Slump and
first meeting and his soon-to-be lifelong friend
Arali.
And I call this scene effective because while Toriyama has made plenty of questionable writing decisions throughout his long career, I don't believe he could have handled this first chapter any better. The priority of the first chapter typically
she got a gun.
And bond us with the main characters of the arc, and immediately Toriyama highlights how these two characters he created are exact opposites of each other. Goku is physically strong but innocent and naive. Bulma is physically weak
but very intelligent.
But is much more experienced and on another intellectual level to Goku altogether. With their first decisions made in this story, not wasting any time in their characterization, acting as a window into who these
oh my god, that looks hilarious.
Goku is inquisitive with some shockingly friendly and naivety thrown into the mix. His first action is to attack and use his brawn to overcome the obstacle.
That's amazing. The car must die.
Going for her gun, a mechanical enhancement, her first thought is to try and manipulate
Here's a stick.
Goku into handing over his Dragon Ball and to help her.
He has the 4-star, doesn't he?
This is her starting point, and it tells us so much about who these
and the
characters
journey
are
begins from
and
here.
what possibilities might lie ahead in their story together.
Boss.
Furthermore, I was delighted to see Toriyama's brilliant use of paneling used to reinforce this avenue of characterization. More traditionally, I really appreciate how Toriyama uses layouts to build anticipation for a page turn. This is a minor example, and I'll show
He
more
broke the panel.
of the course of the story, but this page with Goku overlooking a cliff, it's a tall and narrow panel with Goku pictured quite small atop of it.
Yeah, it looks like a long drop.
Simply that this cliff is extremely tall, and on that
menacing.
Goku is shown not to care about that.
He's just like, whatever. Whee!
Communicating that this isn't a normal everyday boy.
Even the way that it's purple, that's quite an intimidating colour, and then it's more brightly as he jumps down like a child.
And on the topic of visuals, the first chapter has one of my favourite panels in all of the story. This one. This image on its own, to me, acts as a microcosm of what Goku will do in the story moving forward.
Yeah.
His outward appearance will make someone think one thing, and then they will quickly be taken off guard by something they did not expect from him. Bulma, up until this point, and even on this very panel's page, has been contemplating and formulating a plan to exploit Goku.
Right.
She's seen it all before, and she feels like she knows exactly what's coming. And as Goku proceeds into his modest living quarters, Bulma doesn't find someone living there with him. She doesn't find anything she
He's
might
by
be
himself.
expecting. Instead, she sees a small boy earnestly praying before a totem representing his deceased grandpa.
Oh, bless.
The 4-star ball. I love this image. Bulma does continue to try and exploit Goku's understanding and innocent nature for her benefit, but this panel marks the moment she starts to build some sort of bond with the character.
Right. Understanding of his situation. What the
fuck? Moving on from that opening, I think it's important to point out that this arc is unlike any other Dragon
Whoa,
Ball
there's a giant robot. What's going on?
It's clear that Toriyama
How did it burn its thumb?
with a specific vision, one that was inspired largely by the Chinese story Journey to the West, with characters like Goku, Oolong, and Yamcha, among others, encountering fantastical beings clearly inspired by the aforementioned story.
Yeah.
And across these opening 23 chapters, Goku and Bulma travel across the globe in search of these magical orbs
the Dragon Balls
called Dragon Balls. Title drop. All in an effort so that Bulma can make a wish for a perfect boyfriend. You heard me right. She wants to wish for
major
a boyfriend.
setup.
Oh, how the times have changed. In pursuing these orbs, they meet Oolong, who was this weird shape-shifting pervert.
Right.
They meet Yamcha and Poor as they attempt to rob Goku and Co. in the desert.
They're cool at this time by the looks of it.
Bizarre and crazy characters like Boss Rabbit, an individual in charge of a gang of rabbit cosplaying
who can turn people into carrots.
Individuals like Bulma into a carrot.
Wow, that's deadly.
Off-the-wall bonkers, bouncing from iconic scenes to comedic scenes to outright strange scenes. But what ties them all together is the strong focus on comedy that this first arc primarily.
Yeah, like it does seem to have a hell of a lot more comedy than Dragon Ball Z did. Like it had funny moments, but it was so dark.
These jokes have layers to them. Not layers of any intellectual complexity, definitely not, but
just
layers of loose narrative
stupidity.
And I mean that. For instance, despite many of you not having seen this part of the story, you may have seen this particular scene.
Wait, what's going on?
Alright, so this one gag highlighting the innocence of Goku in this crazy situation has the knock-on effect whereby it informs and drives the plot through a secondary gag later on, convincing him to hand over his Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Again, after Bulma loses the
this seems very inappropriate.
She has to borrow a dumb outfit from Oolong. It's a shallow gag, but funnily enough, it informs much of the humor behind the hijinks that takes place in the village with Boss Rabbit running the roost.
Right.
This town they wander into has been terrorized by this gang that dresses up as rabbits, and when the townsfolk start to give Bulma a white berth because of what she's wearing, she assumes the only possible conclusion is that they're intimidated by her beauty.
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
Stuff with Goku, Roshi, Oolong,
no way.
Boss Rabbit
Oof, I'm so pretty.
Of comedic moments that only work when we know the characters involved. Bulma scaring people while dressed as a Playboy bunny.
That's amazing. That's actually quite funny.
It's even more funny when you know that this was the only outfit that Oolong had extra in his car, and it's made even funnier again when you realize that Bulma is so egotistical that she convinced herself that it made perfect sense that people were treating her this way.
It's like that's the logical way you go about it.
Now, is it stupid and borderline creepy given Bulma's age and the material and the age of mangaka drawing it? Yeah. Definitely, maybe, but it's still made in light-hearted fun and layered through character.
It's not overly perverted by the looks of it.
People nowadays love to take Dragon Ball very seriously, whether it be
they do.
story or messaging, and this this story no doubt means a lot to tons and tons of different people across the world. But at the end of the day, this story, particularly this material in the arc, was written as a comedy first and foremost, not to be taken very seriously at all. I mean, there's an entire page with the Pilaf gang dedicated to talking about and making meta jokes concerning Toriyama's prior work in Dr. Slump. That and also Goku sent Boss Rabbit to the moon using his Nyobo, or power pole. What? Makes you wonder what happened to him when...
Oh no. And then Piccolo blew it up as well.
Yeah. Alright, so before I dive into my absolute favourite aspects of this first arc, I think I should rattle off some of the iconic scenes and honourable mentions I have also. I loved how cute and innocent both Goku and Chi-Chi's first encounter was, and I love how the way their dialogue is written accentuates their rural backgrounds and sensibilities.
She's dressed up like a superhero. So cool.
But forcing us as readers to see similarities between the two of them.
I wonder if they make a Chi-Chi Funko
as Goku's obliviousness
like that
clashes with Chi-Chi's traditional ideal. The dynamic is honestly perfect. From a lore standpoint, it also acts as the first place we see Goku's tail acting as a significant weak spot in the series.
That's kind of cool.
The first Kamehameha in the series is absolutely top tier. These big
so the tail thing doesn't come out of nowhere. We have shown it already. That's cool.
So many other mangaka, both past and present, to me. Furthermore, in addition to the scene's stunning visuals, we get to see Goku nail the Kamehameha almost immediately after seeing Roshi use it once. This marks the moment Roshi saw Goku as a special...
And that shows straight away that he can pick up abilities very quickly. Love it.
Oh my god, is that foreshadowing? I think it is.
Yeah.
Alright, now time for my favourite part of the first arc.
Uzaru. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I enjoyed the first arc story in a light-hearted, passive fashion up until this point. It wasn't until this arc's climax that Dragon Ball became what I recognized as Dragon Ball. And while it's still not in its final form just yet, I'll get to that in the next arc, it still showed signs of heading in that direction. This change in narrative direction wasn't a mistake either, and there's some really interesting behind-the-scenes info regarding how Toriyama and his editor at the time, Torishima, saw this issue that I am totally going to talk about in like 2 minutes.
Cool, sick.
Narratively, however, I think this is the arc's strongest section. There's a wonderful culmination of plot threads that create a beautiful martini of circumstance, particularly during this instance where Pilaf has stolen all of the Dragon Balls they collected and trapped them in this chamber with the ceiling exposed to the sky, readying them to be baked under the hot morning sun once it eventually rose. Sitting there, while waiting for death, they begin chatting about the moon's beauty until Goku starts talking about his experience with the moon. And in doing so, he begins telling them a story of a monster his grandpa warned him about that comes out during a full moon.
We're talking about him, isn't he?
Being exposed to the otherworldly strength of Goku.
Didn't he accidentally kill his grandpa?
The sudden death of his grandpa Gohan. This is when the characters sharing the chamber with him, as well as us at home, start to understand what tragic event transpired that day.
Yeah, he like accidentally...
Superbly subtle and effective, particularly for a manga that prioritizes gags and action above this sort of character-rich experience. And it's this sort of dedication to slowly unveiling the world, building it up over time, that gave Dragon Ball this mystical magic and fun feel during this period, as well as moving forward, designing characters that are exact opposites of each other and transporting them through this adventure, not with any specific...
His tail is gone, but why?
But to see how this experience impacts them personally. In the case of Goku, we learn all of this new information about him, and in the case of Bulma, she gains some new friends and maybe more. By the way, I love this page where Bulma and Yamcha both recognize that they were exactly what each other were looking for all along. The page layout is great and visually communicates what it needs to in a childish...
It's a shame it didn't work out.
Wishes for panties, which is another great moment and page, I guess. However, what many of you might not know is that during this time, the ending portion of the Pilaf Saga, sales for Dragon Ball dipped noticeably or experienced a lull, according to Kazuhiko Torishima, Dragon Ball's editor that worked alongside Toriyama. And to remedy this, apparently, Torishima turned to study Fists of the North Star.
Oh, and this is where the rights...
He identified 3 areas where Dragon Ball could improve moving forward.
The fighting.
The first thing they did was cut down the number of characters. Throughout the first arc, Toriyama had introduced a large number of new characters like Goku, Bulma, Oolong, Yamcha, Puar, Roshi, Turtle, Ox King, Chi-Chi, Mai, Shu, Pilaf, as well as the numerous other villains they encountered along the way. And so, when moving into the next arc of the story, together they decided to have a much smaller, more focused cast around Goku, Roshi, and the newly introduced
Krillin.
The second thing they wanted to focus on was to increase increase the coolness factor, which also flows naturally into the third thing they wanted to change. They wanted to break the established convention of the series. Part of the reason sales declined, Torishima suspected, was due to the formula that appeared in the first arc. Once the genie was out of the bottle, or in this case dragon, fans got the impression that they knew what direction the series would go in. And so the Tournament Saga was born, ushering in a new era of manga and in turn establishing Dragon Ball as a force to be reckoned with.
It's not this.
The rise of Dragon Ball had begun. Training with Roshi. To say that
whoop,
this
whoop,
arc
here we
influenced
go.
other popular series yet to come would be an understatement. After having taken on the philosophy of less is more from Fists of the North Star, and a quick trip abroad to look at some ruins and ancient architecture, Akira Toriyama was primed to inject Dragon Ball with the same vigor, passion, and action it would become famous for in the not-so-distant future. And it all starts with this little boy asking this old perverted man to train him. Like the first arc enjoyed, this
is where it begins.
Has a strong focus on the more lighthearted aspects of the series, particularly through new characters and their
she's the one that sneezes and changes the hair, isn't she?
These characters are clunkily, the vehicle of comedy helps us understand them more. For instance, soon after Goku arrives on the island and fails to locate a woman for Roshi, Krillin makes his grand entrance onto the scene.
Awesome.
He comes across as a more self-centered individual initially, thanks to a certain comedic moment courtesy of Goku's Cloud. In addition to that, another character
you have to be pure-hearted to get on it, don't you?
Launch in the dub. She's a character tailor-made for early Dragon Ball, with her sneezing offering up tons of comedic hijinks. But my favorite joke from her
shame they got rid of her
side comes by way of Roshi's desperate persuasion attempt to make her wear a specific uniform.
God.
Lunch asks if maybe the packages got mixed up. We then hard cut to the three guys all peddling this same charade wearing the same uniform.
To make it seem like it's alright.
Request that she please don't insult the traditional uniform of the Kame school as he leers lecherously towards her.
That's amazing.
That's taking all of this a little too seriously. The same way strong emphasis was placed on the differences between Goku and Bulma early on. Krillin acts in the first half of this arc as the foil to Goku, with a strong distinction made between them.
Oh my god, that's brilliant. Like, don't disrespect the uniform.
Cloud, but also his less than heroic saving of Lunch, and most importantly, through the training he received from Roshi. And speaking of
don't they collect milk? Or transfer milk? There you are, there's the milk transferring. Yeah, there we go. You see, I know some things.
I loved the training of Krillin and Goku. Their dynamic is pitch perfect for what this arc
what was it the meme where it's like, because no great story started with a glass of milk? And it's like, well, so I get it.
Bouncing well off of his innocent and honest persona. Roshi's introductory challenge, the foot race, is a terrific example of why this character type and why this version of Krillin is entertaining and effective. Taking turns, Krillin explodes off the mark first, completing the 100-meter dash in a little over 10 seconds.
Whoa.
An impressive effort no matter who you are. However, what makes this a great opportunity for characterization is what Toriyama has given these characters to say to each other in response to their respective efforts. With Krillin, this gave us a great indication as to where his ideals and goals lie. Basking in the impressive time he said, gloating about it both to Goku, Roshi, and even internally to himself. Whereas with Goku, once he sets an even faster time, he doesn't gloat. Instead, his first instinct is to genuinely ask if that was fast.
Yeah, he's like, was that alright? He's not like, the best.
First of all, faced with descending a certain cliff face. However, we know from the first chapter that this is no issue for Goku, and
we've already established it. Sick.
Over Krillin's face is the first instance of another trick soon to become commonplace in the Dragon Ball story. This is a narrative tool called dramatic irony. We know what Goku is capable of, but new characters like Krillin in this instance don't. It is fun and somewhat cathartic at this point, but later this same technique will be used to effectively depict Goku as a monstrous threat to the ignorant adversaries of the future. Furthermore, this whole challenge is a brilliantly constructed scene narratively, with more moving parts than you might actually anticipate from an early Dragon Ball story.
Yeah?
Krillin, knowing full well that there are tons of people living on this island that they've moved to for training, instead of finding the rock that Roshi threw in a race with someone he knows he'll lose against, Krillin decides to try to borrow a marker and find a similar looking rock to fake his successful retrieval.
Whoa.
Roshi does throw the rock back into his face, but it's a good idea that involves thinking.
That's actually quite clever. I like that. That's class. Go ahead, Krillin.
But he's also demonstrating a character flaw that will always mean Goku will be better than him.
Yeah.
He doesn't shake this sensibility. Despite this clever idea, however, he's forced to search in earnest for the rock, but to no success once again. Goku finds it.
Of course.
However, through some more underhanded and clever use of strategy,
go ahead, Krillin.
Goku and attacks him with a fake rock. This whole interaction and challenge was a fun little exchange that highlights Goku's weak spots also. A weak spot he'll have for a very, very long time in some shape.
Oh my god.
He trusts his opponents too much.
Yeah.
But that's enough of these warm-ups. It's time for some
That trait still carries through, that's quite cool. Each of you take one of these boxes. They're transporting the milk! Yes.
One does not strive for victory over an opponent. One strives to avoid defeat by one's own self. In the beginning of this final set of trials, Roshi announces to the two young boys that in 8 short months, they will be participating in the Tenkaichi Budokan, a World Martial Arts tournament. And what makes this sequence interesting, for me at least, isn't exclusively how powerful these two stand to become, or the amazing techniques they will learn while training under Roshi. In fact, they don't really learn any techniques at all beyond what they already arrived with. Instead, there's a strong focus on philosophy. Through the intense manual labor, education, and effort put in over these months.
Which is so hard to believe that Roshi did this when you look at what his characters like in Z. He has nice moments in Super though.
Very long time. He tells them to move well, study well, play well, eat well, rest well.
Aww.
That is the Turtle Master way. There are a number of brilliant quotes from this training mini-arc, but my favourite is the one I started this section with. One does not strive for victory over an opponent, one strives to avoid defeat by one's own self. It summarizes succinctly what I love about this story and Roshi's teachings particularly. He talks about using the power acquired through this practice for the betterment and protection of others. To never strive with the single-minded view of winning against your opponent, but to instead not fall into the pitfalls such elusive thinking will lead you down. To always look past that and to always strive to better yourself regardless of the immediate goal or outcomes you face. It's a powerful and resilient philosophy that
it's like, what was it, the ultimate aim of the art of karate lies not in victory defeat, but in the personal victory of oneself. Oh, I can't remember what I was watching this. I used to... It's Funakashi from Shotokan Karate. The ultimate aim of the art of karate lies not in victory and defeat, but in the character of... No, the ultimate aim of art of karate lies not in victory or defeat, but in the character of its participants.
This is the first tournament in the Dragon Ball series. However, for those of you that know this series well, you'll know that this isn't by any means the last. Not in any stretch of the imagination. The broader Dragon Ball story these days is...
Apparently the fight scenes are so well choreographed in this. It's like, yo, look at that, that's sick. Whoa!
Intimate affairs like with Baba later on in the story, the Cell games, or even to varying degrees in the wider universe. Dragon Ball's roots are very much in these tournament arcs that helped to popularize, and it started all here. And it
this is the beginning.
With a bang. On the back of that important philosophy lesson is the two boys' very first
yo,
test
yo,
in
yo.
the Big Bad World. And the test isn't necessarily the tournament itself, which honestly was kind of interesting. The significance this tournament represents is once more embedded in the philosophy that to truly be a master of martial arts, you need to always be learning and improving. And if either Goku or Krillin were to win this tournament and be crowned strongest under the heavens, they might not learn that lesson. And given what Roshi has seen them do during their training, he needs to come up with a solution to this potential problem. Fast. Now,
participate.
Tournament arc, a surface level analysis of
doesn't he dress up as Thingy Lee?
And while it does offer those in abundance, it's more than anything else a simple backdrop that allows the story.
Yeah, that's Roshi in disguise, isn't it?
Due to the various scenarios it can readily provide. Similar to the setting of a high school, tournaments are a familiar and easy to understand setting for readers. These settings create natural scenarios for central or relevant characters to come into conflict with each other. And in the case of the shonen action genre, a tournament arc is tailor-made for that sort of story. As readers, this is our first time encountering a tournament in the universe of Dragon Ball, much the same way this is Krillin and Goku's first time. And these qualifying rounds in the tournament for the 8 main tournament spots available act also as the bridging of any gap there might exist between Krillin and the audience. A character that was once an antagonist to our hero Goku is now much closer to the endearing, self-conscious, and apprehensive character we're familiar with today. In addition to him acting early on as the audience's surrogate, in this too being his first world tournament, asking all of the sort of questions we as readers would ask, he too is confronted by the group he fled from, and exhibits all the characteristics he had towards the beginning of this arc. In other words, we're made aware of the people who made Krillin the person
he is. Right.
They are slimy, cruel, and they are fighting Krillin in the qualifiers.
Go ahead, la. Oh, amazing. That's boss. That is absolutely boss. Take that.
So good. Goodbye,
Take
Krillin.
that.
Hello, bold new world. And reading these qualifiers series here are all about catharsis and context. It allows us as an audience the opportunity to take stock of how capable these boys are after the grueling and laborious training they underwent for the better part of a year against all of these strongest fighters in the world.
Sweet.
With little effort, Goku and Krillin qualify along with a returning short-haired Yamcha.
Yeah.
Next up are the quarterfinals. As it pertains to this tournament's various heats, the quarterfinals are probably the ones with the greatest emphasis on comedy and really, for me, are the weakest of the arc.
Wow.
That's not to say that I didn't have fun reading this section or that it doesn't have strong moments. It most definitely
Oh no, he
does.
smells.
Like Yamcha versus Jackie Chun, for instance.
Jackie Chun, that's the one.
Bacterium versus Krillin and Goku versus Jiren are very clearly there to primarily dish out some comedic relief, which is fine, but I would have liked a little more drama personally. But yeah, Krillin's first serious outing, as I said, is against an apparently formidable adversary called Bacterium, a giant man whose edge comes from his refusal to ever bathe. There's some great paneling by Toriyama here that will become more commonplace as we
That's
forward
cool.
too, with the contrast emphasized between the tiny hero and the giant bully right before he's defeated.
Oh,
With that
that's
said,
minging.
the fight comes to a close thanks to Goku reminding Krillin that he doesn't have a nose and therefore can't smell.
Oh yeah. That's hilarious. Finish him. Nice.
Next up is Yamcha
Wow.
versus Jackie Chun, and it is my favorite of the fights from this section. It's here we're made aware that Roshi, under an alias and disguise, has entered himself into the tournament to prevent the two boys from winning and losing their motivation for
Right.
improvement. Told from the point of view of Yamcha, we follow him as he's totally overpowered by the older martial artist in Jackie Chun. There's some great panel work, but it's probably the shortest fight in all of these main contests.
Whoa.
Namu versus Ramfan is a strange one. As a reader, you'd be forgiven for wondering why we're dedicating time to this conflict. It doesn't involve any character we've been
Yeah, no one was.
introduced to, and so
No,
Toriyama
yeah.
offered this up as an opportunity to not necessarily focus on Namu, though he does sort of, but to instead leverage his noble intentions that we do learn about him to build up Roshi's character instead. Through this Namu character, we learn how much Roshi may very well be capable of as he uses his mysterious abilities to read Namu's mind, and in addition to that, we learn of the horrible circumstances after befalling his village.
No.
Waiting on him to return with water after he wins the tournament prize money, his goal is to save his village. And that motivation, despite Ranfan's best effort, was enough to help him claim the victory over her.
Class.
Goku versus Jiren is the last fight before the semis, and to be honest, this was the fight I liked the least in this section. It's still perfectly fine, but there's a lot of strange goings on, like Goku using Kinton to save himself from falling out of bounds.
Oh.
To me, that feels like cheating.
Yeah, that should
I
be
suppose
allowed.
The most significant thing to come out of this match is that Goku grew his tail back, but even then, Goku doesn't knock Jiren out of bounds or anything. Jiren quits out of fear. It's very unsatisfying.
Oh.
The semi-finals. Alright, we've got 4 remaining contestants vying for the first place spot. Goku, Krillin, Namu, and Jackie Chun.
Nice.
3 matches remain before we crown a winner, so let's dive in. Krillin versus Jackie Chun.
Ooh.
This first match of the semifinals is honestly a classic Dragon Ball fight. There's some iconic Toriyama paneling, but trust me, you've seen nothing yet.
Yo,
This
good, Krillin.
conflict also has a brilliant gag which parodies those old kung fu films. You know those moments where 2 warriors rush past each other, we see effectively nothing
And then they
happen,
wait, and then
out of
see who
seemingly
falls over?
nowhere,
Yeah.
one of them falls after apparently being attacked incredibly quick. It's a famous and somewhat cliche trick, and Toriyama decides to deconstruct this concept until all that's left is utter absurdity. As Krillin and Roshi, I mean Jackie Chun, utilize the same attack resulting in Krillin being downed, per the request of the ref, they then attempt to explain everything that happened in
No
approximately
way.
0.2 seconds of action in excruciating detail, intentionally slowing the pace of the fight down in hilarious fashion. Everything from
That's
punches,
brilliant.
spitting, booger flicking, or even rock, paper, scissors transpired during the exchange apparently, and it's a good gag.
That's
The
class.
final fight for me,
That's
anyway,
absolute
has to be when
class.
Krillin surprises Jackie and sends him flying out of the ring, forcing him to use his secret weapon, the Kamehameha, to propel himself back into the arena.
Oh,
It's
whoa.
awesome. After that effort, Krillin didn't have much left, and in the end, Jackie Chun proved to be too much for the young
That's
warrior.
brilliant. Take that.
Chun advances to the finals. Goku vs. Namu's semi-final bout was interesting for me for one main reason. It acted as a clear and effective way to show what sort of powerhouse Goku really is. Taking techniques he'd just seen moments prior and utilizing them in battle with Namu made it look
So,
as though Goku
consistent with the copying people's abilities or just picking up straight away.
Being the strongest man to participate within this tournament, and to see Goku steamroll through him like this created an aura around his character I wasn't at all expecting from this story going into what should be the biggest moment in his life. Needless to say, Goku wins. He advances to the finals against Jackie Chun.
Yeah.
In dominating fashion. The finals. This is and remains one of the best fights the series has ever produced, and it's a crime that most people that have seen Dragon Ball Z don't even know that this fight exists. Contained within this one fight are what will eventually become staples of the franchise that to this day are still being used. There's an interesting interview with
struggle
editor Torishima that I think brings to light the reason why a tournament setting was ultimately chosen to act as the backdrop for the climax to their sophomore outing in this manga. Nothing from Fist of the North Star pointed towards a tournament arc necessarily.
Yeah, he just beat the crap out of people.
Well, it was Akira Toriyama's art style. According to Torishima,
Mates.
Tetsuo Hara, the artist behind Fist of the North Star, was particularly great at illustrating still or static images, and so Torishima wondered if Hara had to keep this in mind when drawing his manga, playing to his strengths, resulting in Kenshiro poking holes through his opponents and making them stagger to the right. There's not a lot of movement, but it was so cool, according to Torishima.
Right.
So, once he realized this, he thought to angle the coming arc according to Akira Toriyama's greatest illustrative talent, his ability to depict three-dimensional movement. Toriyama's level of spatial awareness when it comes to these fights was what drew me as a reader and a fan into these stories in the first place, and largely
You do get the sense of a lot of movement going on from what he's showing.
Keeping these aspects of Akira Toriyama's talents in mind, they needed a place to easily demonstrate themselves, and what better place to show how powerful and competent Goku became than on a flat, three-dimensional stage at the Tenkaichi Budokai. On this stage, Akira Toriyama was free to make full use of the space, whether it be through jumping, flying, lunging, spinning, or whatever his brain could conjure. And this fight between Roshi and Goku set the standard for what many other manga from that point onward would try to emulate.
Interesting.
An aspect of this fight that I think is easily overlooked is how so much of it is taken from Roshi's point of view. From the internal dialogue to the point of view and narrative direction. The narrative is less saying, can Goku pull out the victory here, but more so, can Roshi achieve what is best for Goku in defeating him in this contest? On top of that, remaining true to the initial mission statement of the term school and its philosophy, it really helps to build up and establish Goku as this mountain of an adversary early on in the bout, which in turn helps to build tension in the fight towards its climax, forcing us to watch on as an audience conflicted as Roshi cycles through and dives deep into his big bag of tricks with Goku, finding every answer to the techniques the old hermit had acquired over a very, very long career in mere seconds. It's an astounding fight, and it's not done yet.
Oh no! Oh god!
Due to the fight's length and subsequently Roshi's
it's nighttime.
Goku away early, night falls over the arena, and
oh my god!
Forcing
What?
Roshi to contend with the impossibly difficult task of Great Ape Goku, now destroying the tournament grounds. And contend with him he most certainly does.
Jesus!
In ridiculous Dragon Ball fashion, might I add, by using almost all of his energy to blow up the moon. Rip Boss Rabbit, I guess?
Yeah, goodbye.
Ultimately, this leaves both Roshi
Wait, how's the moon in
and
Dragon Ball Z then?
completely drained of energy with one good attack left in each competitor. And the means with which this fight ends is still, to this day, genius in my mind. It's so
wow,
simple,
go ahead.
Winner declared, but with no one person having lost any standing with us as an audience. Ever the cunning strategist, at the last moment, Roshi notices an advantage he has over Goku. One that no matter what, the young boy couldn't possibly overcome. His lack of height and reach. For the very last time in this bout, they dash and move to attack each other, and this time both fall after their respective blows land. But ultimately, Roshi dealt the most damage thanks to Goku's lack of reach, leading to a great
that's class. Cool. Makes sense. Yeah.
on the Turtle Hermit. This fight was a brilliant use of every single attribute that makes Akira Toriyama's stories and battles impressive.
That's class. Makes sense. That's cool.
For me, was a tremendous treat. Having not looked at it in close to 10 years, returning to it with fresh eyes, I'm happy to say that not only is it as good as I remember, but it's better. The focus this arc places on the character of Roshi is stupendous, from his comedic value to his competency as a martial artist to his generosity as a human being. This arc was a true
oh, does he help him out? Cool. That's awesome.
That Dragon Ball has arrived. And let me tell you, it was only just getting started.
Nice. Oh, well, that's cool. I am actually quite... I wasn't too sure whether I'd enjoy this review series because I've obviously not experienced the original content that it's reviewing. But oh, Red Ribbon. Cool. But yeah, that was really, really cool. Obviously, I know little bits and bobs about the Dragon Ball series. And yeah, it was awesome to see how the actual story goes. And yeah, like origins of where things came from. That's cool. So I did enjoy that, and I am definitely going to be checking this out as it comes out every week. So glad I decided to check that out. And yeah, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video I upload, a link is in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I have to help support the channel. I greatly appreciate that. And thank you guys very much for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys. Bye.